Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Glad you could be here. Today I want to give you a progress report on the books that I am currently reading. I'll talk about some of the things I like, some of the things I don't like, things that I'm unsure about, and hopefully give you a good idea of what the books might be like if you pick them up for yourself. Or if you've read them before, you may remember some of these things that you dealt with when you were reading the books. And so I hope this is helpful, and I hope it encourages you to read these books and think more about them. Without any further ado, let's get right into it. The first book I want to discuss with you is a book that I've been reading for a while. I had put it on my fall TBR back in October or November, I think it was, and I'm still reading it. But so far I'm enjoying it, and that is Neuromancer by William Gibson. Now, I said I'm enjoying it, and I am, but there are some things I'm kind of frustrated about. I'm about halfway through the book, and I'm still not totally sure where the story is going. And that's frustrating to me, because you would think about halfway through a book, you would know exactly what the plot is, what they're working toward, where it's going. I still don't quite understand it. It follows a cyber thief in a cyberpunk sci-fi setting. So if you're familiar with Blade Runner and stuff like that, it's that kind of world. And he has been hired by an artificial intelligence to do a major hack on some highly classified government system. I think that's my understanding so far. And I still don't fully understand what the job is, why they're doing it. I'm getting a really good glimpse into the characters in the story. The characters are written really well. They're interesting. They're nuanced. They're fun to read about, at least in their personal interactions with each other. But as far as the overall plot, I'm still not really sure where it's going. And I'm kind of disappointed by that in a way, because this book is hailed as a magnum opus in science fiction. And so far, I'm not really sure why. Now, you may have read this book and you're probably thinking, dude, are you completely clueless? What don't you like about it? I like it, okay. I probably am kind of clueless, at least so far. I'm not totally sure what's going on. So I am going to finish the book. I'm not going to completely stop reading it altogether, but I'm probably going to put it on the back burner a little bit for now and take a break and focus more on the other two books I'm going to be talking about in a minute. And then pick it back up and finish it. And I will do a book review on it once I've finished it. But so far, other than the character development, I'm kind of lost. And that's not always a good feeling when you're reading a book. So more to come on that. I will talk more about it. And let's get right to the next book. The next book I have also been reading for a while. But I've got a little bit of a different story with that one. I started reading Stephen King's It last year, early in the year, and I got about 200 pages in at one point, and I just couldn't get into it. It was really laborious to read. I don't know if it was the writing style that was just wasn't clicking with me, or maybe the world was too developed, which I like developed worlds and characters. It was just maybe so detailed that I really couldn't get into it as well. But I know how popular it is. I'd seen the first movie at that point, and I didn't want to just give up on it because I know that books were always better than the movies. But at one point, I was seriously considering not finishing it at all. And I set it down for a while, and then my girlfriend said, "Why don't you check out the audiobook?" She had listened to the audiobook. She really liked the narrator, and she said it was really an engaging listen. So I took her up on it. I got the audiobook, and I am actually really, really engrossed in it now. It did really help me. I don't very often do that with fiction. I listen to a lot of nonfiction audiobooks, but not a lot of fiction. But it was really a good idea for me to pick up the audiobook, and I'm kind of reading along at some points in the book if I have time to sit down and do that. But a lot of times I'm just listening to the audio, and I'm really impressed. I am kind of new to Stephen King. Besides it and the first book in the Dark Tower, I haven't really explored his books. And I've found that I really do love the way he does his world building and his characters. And this book is really quite different from the movies. The movies did a good job adapting it. And it ended up being, almost 5 hours worth of movie watching to see them. But I kind of think that even 5 hours just doesn't really do it justice, because there's things in this book, there's characters that are really well developed in this book that get a passing mention in the movies. The main characters are much more developed in the book than they are in the movies, and that's to be expected. You can't really do as much with a movie, but the main antagonist, which is It, as he's been referred to in the book numerous times, is extremely well nuanced in the book. He is in the movie to a point, but not as much. If you're unfamiliar with the story, it basically follows a group of teenagers who have encountered this creature that preys upon their worst fears by taking the form of those fears. So in the movies, you're probably familiar, you've at least seen the trailers, he usually appears as a clown. In the movies, there's a few other guises that he takes on, but for the most part, he stays as a clown, and that's how he draws these kids in and keeps them afraid and draws them into his dungeon to do his thing. The movie is comprised of the first part, which largely follows them as teenagers, and then the second movie follows them as adults, with a few flashbacks to when they were kids, but not much. And this book does the same thing, but in a much more detailed and thorough way, and it goes back and forth between the past and the present day, when they were kids and when they were adults. And it follows one particular character in the book for each of those segments, really develops the characters a whole lot more. And in the book, the creature has a whole lot of different forms that just aren't explored in the movie. So I've been really impressed with the book so far. There's things that happen in the characters' lives in the book that I look back to the movie and I'm like, oh, okay, well, yeah, that makes a whole lot more sense now that I know more of their backstory, which you don't get in the movie. And it's in the book, and I'm just thoroughly enjoying it. I love a good character study, and there's a ton of character study in this book. So I'm really glad I picked up the audiobook, and if you've had trouble getting into this book, you may want to check out the audiobook. I'll leave a link in the description below to where you can find it and purchase it. The narrator is really fantastic, as I was told he would be. So make sure to check this out, either in book form or an audiobook, or both. And let me know what you think in the comments, okay? The final book that I am currently reading, I actually just picked it up and I'm about 30 pages in, is The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. It is set in what seems to be an 18th or early 19th century, kind of like a Victorian setting almost. And it's got magicians and what I'm assuming will eventually be a circus that they are involved in. I don't know a whole lot about it, but I'm really enjoying it so far. It's really engaging. I haven't been able to actually put it down very often, and I like that about a book. It's new, it's fresh. It's not like anything I've read before, which I really like. The voice, and by that I mean first person, third person, second person, etc. The voice is in a second person active present, which is kind of different to get used to. I've only read one other book before that used it. So I'll give you an example. Instead of he did this or he did that, kind of like speaking in the past tense, it speaks more actively in a present tense, but from a second person point of view. So it's like somebody said something and then, or they say something. He says this. She says that. She does this. She does that. She gets up from the couch and she walks over to the mirror or whatever that might be. That's the kind of descriptions you're getting in the book. It's a little bit to get used to at first, but don't let that stop you from reading it. It didn't take me very long to not even notice it anymore. So I'll let you know more what I think as I get further into it, or if I just completely finish it before I get a chance to update you. I will give you a full review on the book, because I'm planning to anyway eventually. But I'm really loving what I'm reading so far. The characters are super interesting. The magic system is pretty interesting as well. So yeah, I highly recommend it. Let me know in the comments if you've read the book, what your thoughts are on it. And don't give me any spoilers, because I'm not very far into it, but tell me what your initial thoughts were, and we'll go from there. And the same applies for any of these books. Let me know if you've read them. Do you agree with some of my concerns and my frustrations? Or maybe you have a completely opposite perspective on them. I'd love to know that too. Don't hesitate to dialogue with me and interact with me. Make sure that you like and subscribe to my content. Make sure that you hit the notification bell so you get notifications. Please do share this with your friends, as well as any of my other videos that you've gotten a lot out of. I love for new people to get a window into my world, and it really makes a difference to me knowing that you like my videos, because I really enjoy making them for you. And with that being said, before I end it, make sure that you are reading more books. I will share more with you in the next video. Have a great day, guys. Bye.